My parents took me to court so my brother could have the truck I bought with blood and Frostbite. Hi, I'm Nate, 31, and last month my own parents tried to legally rob me of the one thing I ever bought for myself, a truck I earned with 8 years of busted knuckles, Frostbite, and silence. I was 30 when I walked into that dealership in Denver, still sore from another 80-hour week in the Bakken. I picked her myself, magnetic gray 3.5L EcoBoost, loaded with every option except a sunroof because I'm not made of money. Sticker price, $78,400. I dropped $50,000 cash from my high-yield savings, financed the rest at 3.9%. Title in my name. Plates, Nate 1. I'd spent 8 years living in man camps that reeked of microwaved fish and sweat, eating gas station burritos and skipping bar nights so I could stack overtime checks. While other guys posted beach selfies with their girlfriends, I was heating canned chili on a camp stove and sleeping in boots too frozen to untie. So yeah, when I finally got that truck, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, pride. Then I made the mistake of driving it to my parents' place in Aurora. Jordan, my 26-year-old brother, was on the porch in pajama pants at noon, puffing weed and playing TikToks out loud. He stood up, walked straight to the truck like he'd been expecting it. Damn, Nate. That's the one. That's mine. I laughed. You high already? He circled it, touched the hood like he owned it, climbed inside without asking, adjusted the mirrors, took a selfie with the wheel, and posted it before I even pulled out of the driveway. Caption. Big bro finally came through. Appreciate you folded hands #blessed #new whip. I made him delete it. He said. Relax, I'm just playing. Mom cried happy tears. Dad wasn't home. I left thinking maybe they'd finally notice me. Then came Monday morning. Jordan posted again. Another photo, him in the truck. This time public. This time bitter. Caption. When your brother uses the $50,000 grandpa promised me to buy himself the exact truck I had on my vision board. Real classy, Nate. Some of us still struggling with student loans and mental health, but go off, I guess. By Tuesday, it had 3,000 likes and comments like, selfish much? And, give Jordan what he's owed. He tagged my union. He tagged my job site. He tagged my ex. I called him, ready to scream. He texted back a laughing emoji. Then Dad called. Son, we're disappointed. That truck was understood to be Jordan's when he got back on his feet. What? I paid for it. Well, we've retained counsel. You can either sign the title over quietly, or we'll see you in court. I sat in my truck in a gas station parking lot in -12 degrees weather, my beard freezing, as a process server knocked on my window and handed me the lawsuit. My own parents were suing me for my own damn truck. And that was just the beginning. Their complaint read like a creative writing assignment turned in late and high. Oral agreement between family members regarding future vehicle allocation. Unjust enrichment. Breach of implied trust. The kicker? Emotional distress suffered by the younger sibling, Jordan Hayes, due to continued possession of the promised vehicle. They demanded I hand over the title, pay his attorney fees, and compensate for mental anguish. I didn't throw the papers. I didn't cry. I opened my glove box, took out the maintenance log I'd been keeping since day one, and wrote one more entry. Parents sued me for truck. Not kidding. I called Sarah Delgado the next morning. Friend of a friend. Wore Doc Martens to court and had a voice like she'd been cross-examining people since preschool. She read the complaint and said, "This is insane. Let's burn them down, legally." Discovery was a circus. Their lawyers subpoenaed my savings accounts, trying to find proof my parents gave me money. There was none. Then they came for my coworkers, asking if I'd ever mentioned Dad promising me a truck. My foreman wrote back, Nate earns everything. His folks are leeches. Jordan showed up to his deposition in a Canada Goose jacket I bought him 2 Christmases ago. He cried on cue. Said I'd bullied him all his life, ruined his credit by not co-signing his loans, stolen his girlfriends, plural, apparently, and driven away in the truck he'd been manifesting since age 12. Sarah played the Ring doorbell footage. Jordan at 2:14 a.m. Hoodie up, trying to hotwire my truck in the parking lot, then scratching, "Gimme," down the driver's side when he failed. $4,200 in damage. When asked about it, he shrugged. It was a prank. My mom brought tissues to her depot. Cried about how I'd always been cold and independent. Jordan's sensitive, she said. He needs the truck to get to therapy. It's 12 miles away. When asked why they didn't just buy him a used car, she said, "That wouldn't be fair to Nate. Nate can always earn more. Jordan can't." My dad? Oh, he brought out the full retired Master Sergeant energy. Called the judge. "Sir," told the whole story about pulling me aside at 16 and saying, "One day, you'll get your brother a real truck." Funny, because what I remember was him throwing a wrench and telling me, "Don't come crying when that piece of crap Civic dies." Then came the wild card. Uncle Rick flew in from Arizona. Big guy. Fireman mustache. Hates Dad's golden boy favoritism. He showed up with files. Grandpa's will. UTMA account statements. Birthday cards. Jordan said, "Spend it wisely." Mine said, "Use this when you build your life." And then he dropped the nuke, proof that both Jordan and I were given the same $10,000 at age 12. I saved mine until trade school. Jordan blew his at EDM festivals and Xbox games. Trial was a week away. My stomach lived in my throat. But Sarah? She was sharpening her cross-examination like a blade. And she was about to use it. Arapahoe County Courthouse, March 2025. I walked in wearing the only suit I owned, bought it for a funeral, tailored it for this war. Jordan wore Yeezys. Mom wore pearls and a tearful expression she practiced in the mirror. Dad wore his American flag polo and that look he gets when he thinks he's the hero in a war movie. Sarah Delgado wore fury like perfume. Judge Harland, 68, ex-JAG, still had a buzz cut that looked sharp enough to cut glass. He flipped through the file with the speed of a man who's already over it. Dad's lawyer, a smug country club regular named Whitaker, started with a PowerPoint titled, "The Hayes Family Understanding." Slide 3. A 12-year-old Jordan sitting in a display F-150 with the caption, "Dreams Deferred." I nearly left. Sarah just rolled her eyes. Dad got up and lied through his perfectly flossed teeth. Claimed he'd promised Jordan a truck since birth. Claimed $15,000 of my down payment came from tools he gave me. Claimed I agreed verbally that if Jordan ever fell on hard times, I'd step up. Sarah introduced receipts. Every tool, every socket wrench, every air compressor, purchased by me. Credit cards. Timestamped. She played the dealership video. Me walking in alone, no family in sight. Me pointing to the gray F-150 like it was the first damn thing I'd ever done for myself. Then came Mom. She wept over Jordan's suicide attempt at 19. First I'd heard of it. Claimed this truck was his path to purpose. Sarah clicked the next slide. Jordan, shirtless, in Cancun. Living my best life. No depression here. The gallery laughed. Then Sarah stood. "Your Honor, defense calls Jordan Hayes." He walked past me like he was walking a red carpet, all swagger and self-pity. Sarah started soft. "You currently live with your parents?" "Yes." "You drive your mother's Suburban?" "Sometimes." "You recently posted from Tulum, Mexico?" "Yes, but that was..." "Objection!" Whitaker barked. "Sustained." The judge sighed. Then Sarah dropped the hammer. Played the ring footage again, Jordan keying my truck. Then a TikTok he posted 48 hours before trial. Him dancing in a nightclub, tossing bills at the camera. Caption: "Who needs a truck when you got bottles?" "Sorry not sorry, Ethan." The courtroom erupted. Judge Harlan banged his gavel hard enough to dislocate something. Then Uncle Rick took the stand. He didn't even look at the judge. Just stared down Dad like a drill sergeant spotting a recruit out of line. "You raised one good son," he said. "And now you're trying to ruin him to fix the broken one. Shame on you, Rob." Dad's face went magenta. Mom clutched her pearls like they might summon a better story. The judge recessed for 18 minutes. When he came back, he didn't even sit down before he spoke. "This court finds the plaintiff's claims not only baseless, but malicious. The 2021 Ford F-150 is unequivocally the legal property of Nathaniel Hayes. Complaint dismissed with prejudice. Plaintiffs are ordered to pay $18,742 in legal fees. And this matter is referred to the DA for potential perjury." He looked right at Jordan. "Young man, get a job." Gavel. Boom. Outside, Sarah high-fived me like we just won the Super Bowl. In the hallway, Dad cornered me, veins bulging. "You think you won? You just destroyed your mother." "No, Dad. You did. When you raised a son who thinks he's entitled to everything his brother works for." Jordan shoved my shoulder. This isn't over, bro. I looked him dead in the eyes. Touch my truck again, I'll press felony charges. Touch me? I'll break your hands. He flinched. First time in his life. That night, I drove straight back to the job site, parked my truck in the gravel lot behind the trailers, and just sat there for a minute. Heat on full blast. Hands on the wheel like I had something to steer again besides rage. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Your brother is really struggling. Don't let pride destroy this family. I stared at it until my vision blurred, then put the phone in the glove box and turned off the ringer for the first time in 5 years. An hour later, the guys from the local started showing up. 20, maybe 30 of them, all still in boots, coveralls, smelling like pipe dope and Copenhagen. Somebody brought a keg. Somebody else backed in a flatbed with lawn chairs welded to it. One guy welded an old washer to a chain, spray-painted it. Jordan's tears. And we hung it off my hitch like a trophy. We built a bonfire out in the empty field behind the compressor station, cracked open beers, passed around cigars, and toasted to the quiet kid who finally grew a spine. Every man there knew a Jordan. Every man had a version of that story buried somewhere under his calluses. I didn't cry until 4 a.m., after everyone left. Sitting alone in the driver's seat, staring at the key in the ignition. That key was more than metal. It was a medal. And the boy who used to give Jordan the bigger half of every candy bar? I think I buried him out there in that frozen field with the washer, and the ashes and the last of my patience. 6 months later, I got a text from Dad. Jordan wrecked the Suburban. DUI. Can you co-sign for another? I let it ring until voicemail. Then deleted the message. Mom sent a Christmas card. No signature. Just a note. Your brother is struggling. He needs support. I didn't respond. The truck's got 112,000 miles on it now. A chipped windshield from a rock near Rollins. A dent in the tailgate where I reversed into a compressor after a 14-hour shift. Coffee stains in the carpet no detailer can erase. It smells like burnt Red Bull, rust, and freedom. Every now and then, I park out in the Permian, crawl under the truck with a socket wrench and stare up at the flare stack burning 100 feet high, thinking about how I used to sleep in the tool shed so Jordan could have the bigger room. I used to think that made me good. It didn't. It just made me easy to rob. I'm Nate Hayes, 31 years old. Pipe fitter. Debt-free. Driving the truck I paid for with overtime, Frostbite, and 8 years of being the family's plan B. And if my father ever tries to take these keys again, I'll run him over with it. 3 months after the trial, I got invited to speak at a union apprentice orientation. I almost said no. I don't do microphones. But my foreman, Rick, twisted my arm. You're a walking cautionary tale, Nate. These kids need to hear it. So I stood in front of 80 wide-eyed rookies, all fresh Carhartts and steel toes that hadn't met mud yet, and told them what no one told me. If your family thinks your paycheck is community property, you better lawyer up before you show up with anything nicer than a socket set. A few laughed. Most didn't. I told them about Jordan. About the lawsuit. About the truck. About how you can break your back for years, but one spoiled golden child with a Facebook sob story can still paint you as the villain. And how the justice system might take months, but sometimes, it actually works. After, a kid, couldn't have been more than 19, came up to me, eyes wide. My mom already asked if she can put her name on my tool account. Said it's for emergencies. I looked him in the eye and said, then you better start defining emergency right now. Or one day she'll call your drill her inheritance. He nodded. Hard. That night, I drove back out to the field, pulled up to my usual spot under the big cottonwood near the flare stack. There was a 6-pack in the cooler, a folded tarp in the bed, and the kind of quiet you only get out here, where the stars don't care who you disappoint. I unrolled my sleeping bag in the back of the truck, laid flat, and stared at the sky. Somewhere between Orion and a jet trail, I remembered my 12th birthday. Jordan got a Nintendo DS. I got a pack of socks. Because you're practical, Mom said. Jordan needs help feeling special. Yeah. He needed the world. I just needed to work. And now? I've got the only set of keys that matter. And I sleep better knowing no one else gets to drive this life anymore. 2 months after the trial, I got a certified letter from Dad. Typed, not handwritten. Formal language like he was writing up a change order, not reaching out to his son. Nathaniel. We regret the legal miscommunication and hope, in time, You can understand the pressures we were under. Jordan has been going through a difficult period. He's attending weekly therapy now and working part-time at an automotive shop. He would like to apologize in person. We suggest a family meeting at the house next Sunday at 3 p.m. Respectfully. Robert and Diane Hayes. I read it once. Then again. Then tossed it into the burn barrel out back and watched it curl into ash. I knew what this was. They weren't reaching out. They were rebooting the narrative. Trying to rewrite history as a misunderstanding, instead of what it was, a straight-up ambush. I called Uncle Rick instead. Let me guess, he said, chewing something. They want a hug and a fresh down payment? I think they want me to forget. He snorted. Then they'd better develop dementia first. You coming to the cookout? That Sunday, I showed up at Rick's instead of theirs. Wore the same trucker hat I'd had on in court. Parked the F-150 out front, still scratched and dented and defiant. The kids made a game out of taking selfies with the Jordan's tears, washer still swinging from my hitch. Rick grilled like it was his last meal. Burgers, ribs, hot links. I brought beer and a folding chair. Sat next to Aunt Denise while she told the story of how my dad once grounded me in Jordan after Jordan flooded the basement. I knew then, she said, sipping her cores, that fairness didn't live in that house. Just fear. Later, as the sun dropped behind the cottonwoods, Rick handed me a cold one and nodded toward the truck. You gonna keep that washer forever? Maybe, I said. Might bronze it. He laughed. Good. Every man needs a reminder. That night, I drove home with barbecue smoke in my hoodie, the stereo low, the truck humming like it knew the road better than I did. When I pulled into the gravel lot behind my place, there was a note stuck to my front door. Plain white envelope. No stamp. Just from Jordan, written in slanted, immature cursive. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Whatever apology he thought he could write on a scrap of paper couldn't undo what he carved into the side of my truck. Or what he tried to carve into me. 2 weeks after the cookout, I spotted Jordan at the gas station. I was filling up at Pump 6. He was sitting in the passenger seat of some girl's Camry, hoodie up, sunglasses on, pretending like he didn't see me. But he saw me. She was inside buying snacks. I could hear her laugh through the cracked window. He looked smaller somehow. Less smug. Like a dog that got yelled at too many times and finally stopped barking. I didn't say a word. Didn't give him the head nod. Just kept pumping. He stayed seated, chewing his thumbnail like it might change the past. When she came back out, they pulled away. I watched the back window for a second. Nothing. A week later, Mom texted me. Your brother wants to know if he can call. He's in a better place now. He read some workbook about forgiveness. I think he's really trying. I typed and deleted a reply 6 different times before I settled on. I'm not his recovery milestone. No response after that. And then came the real twist. Sarah called me out of the blue on a Tuesday morning. She sounded almost giddy. Guess who just got served? She said. Please say Jordan. Bingo. The DA filed charges. Criminal mischief for the king. Class 6 felony. He got arraigned yesterday. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel bad. I felt finished. He had 30 days to appear. Sarah said he looked stunned in the footage, like consequences had never actually applied to him until now. She said his lawyer tried to float a plea deal. Restitution and an apology letter. Do you want the letter? She asked. I paused. Thought about it. Then shook my head. Nope. Let him keep it. Hang it next to his vision board. That weekend, I took the truck into the shop for an oil change and asked the guy if he could buff out the gimme scratches again. He squinted at the door and said, Honestly, man? Leave it. It's character. I laughed. Harder than I had in weeks. Later that night, I drove out past the rigs, parked where the sky goes black and the only sound is wind and engine hum. I lay in the bed, hands behind my head, staring at the stars like they owed me answers. But none came. Only peace. The kind that costs blood, pride, and the last thread of hope that the people who raised you might someday raise themselves. The day Jordan pled guilty, I was 900 miles away, welding in sub-zero wind in North Dakota, 20 feet up on a scaffold, goggles fogged, fingers numb, and still, somehow, grinning. Sarah texted one word. Done. Restitution paid in full. $4,200. Direct deposit. The memo line read. Repair. Not apology. Not regret. Just repair. I screenshotted it. Printed it out. Taped it inside my locker door under a photo of the truck from the day I bought it. Me standing next to it, eyes tired, arms crossed, pride leaking out of every seam. That weekend, I took the long way home. Didn't tell anyone I was coming. Just drove south until the horizon started looking familiar again. Aurora hadn't changed. Same cracked sidewalks. Same rusted mailboxes. Same neighbors pretending they couldn't hear screaming matches through the drywall. I didn't stop at the house. Just drove by real slow. The porch light was out. Dad's truck was gone. Mom's car, too. Jordan's bedroom window was cracked open, like it always was when he wanted attention without asking. I kept driving. But I did stop 3 blocks down, at the little public park with the busted swing set and the half-dead pine trees. The one where I used to take Jordan when Mom was too tired and Dad was too loud. Sat on the same bench where I once split a melted Snickers bar with him after he skinned his knee. The same bench where I taught him how to tie his shoes. The same bench where I first learned that giving more never meant they'd take less. It was quiet. Cold. But not lonely. I reached into the glove box, pulled out the registration, still in my name, and just stared at it. There was no parade. No celebration. Just ink on paper, steel under me, and the weight of every "You're the strong one" I ever believed. That night, I drove to Uncle Rick's again. He handed me a beer, said nothing, and nodded toward the fire pit. We sat in silence for nearly an hour. Then he said, "You done bleeding for people who never bring Band-Aids?" I thought about it. Then nodded. "Yeah. I think I finally am." A month later, I sold the washer. Yeah. That washer, the one we spray-painted. Jordan's tears. And hung off my hitch like a war medal. A guy from the union offered me $50 for it. Said it'd look good hanging in his garage next to his ex's old wedding dress. I told him, "Make it 60 and throw in a case of Shiner Bock." Deal. I didn't sell it to forget. I sold it because I didn't need it anymore. The joke had done its job. It held the rage for me while I figured out how to let go. And I was ready to drive a truck that didn't drag a grudge behind it like a tailgate. Around that time, I started dating a welder from Local 539, Natalie. First girl I've met in a long time who didn't flinch at calloused hands and stories about frostbite. First person who looked at the truck and said, "You bought that for yourself, huh?" Instead of, "Who gave you this?" She brought her own tools to our second date. Welded a cracked ladder brace on my trailer like it was nothing. Wore a bandana, boots, and no makeup. I offered her gloves. She scoffed. "I'm not soft." That night, she made a grilled cheese on my camping stove, and we sat in the bed of the truck under the stars, boots off, laughing about the dumbest injuries we'd ever had. Hers was a welding spark to the armpit. Mine? Jordan accidentally hit me in the face with a wiffle ball bat when we were 9. Swore it was an accident. I knew better. She asked about the dent in the tailgate. I said, "Compressor." My fault. The scratches on the side? Little brother. Definitely not my fault. We didn't talk about parents. We didn't need to. But later, when she crawled into the sleeping bag next to me and laid her head on my chest, she whispered, "You don't have to explain anything. You don't know anyone anymore." I didn't realize until that moment how true that was. I didn't know Jordan a ride. I didn't owe Dad a silent smile. I didn't owe Mom a response to every holiday guilt trip. I didn't know the past my future. I owed myself peace. And for once, I was collecting. Last week, the odometer rolled over to 125,000. I pulled off the road outside Gillette, parked on a bluff overlooking nothing but dry wind and sky, and just sat there with the engine idling and the heater humming. I reached over, ran my fingers along the dash, and felt the scars in the leather like old calluses. Earned, not inherited. This truck? It's not just a vehicle. It's a damn monument. To every overtime shift. Every burnout friendship. Every night I spent freezing in North Dakota wondering if anyone would ever notice how hard I was trying. They didn't. And it's okay now. Because I notice. I earned this machine with 8 years of sweat and silence and sacrifice. I kept it through a lawsuit. Through lies. Through a family that mistook my loyalty for leverage. The kid who used to give away the bigger half? He's gone. The man who kept the smaller half? He's driving now. And if anyone, ever tries to take these keys again, I won't flinch. I'll downshift. And I'll keep driving. Always forward. Always mine.